This is Brandon from Brandlux Media, and for those of you who don't know me, once again, I did one video yesterday talking about UGC and creatives on my whiteboard. I want to try again. I did a little drawing here and some notes. So what I'm going to talk about in this video is exactly what you should prioritize when it comes to growing your e-commerce business, depending on what stage you are, because there's nothing worse than being at stage 1 and thinking about problems at stage 3, or being at stage 2 and thinking about problems at stage 4, and it's just not maybe the right time to think about these things. And there's nothing worse than prioritizing the wrong things, because it's going to be a waste of time and resources and definitely money at the same time, right? So in this video, I want to bring you through my own thought process, right? For those of you who don't know, I've been working with 60 plus e-commerce brands over the last years. I've seen brands go from zero all the way up to over $1 million a month. So once again, I'm going to talk about the 4 individual stages so you understand the framework and how I think, and kind of like the way that I frame things, depending on what stage you are, okay? So the e-commerce blueprint of 2024. Let's start with stage number 1, right? If you're in this stage, this is exactly what I would focus on. So between $0 and $100,000 a month. You should purely master these 3 things: marketing, sales, and persuasion, right? How do you expect to have customers if you're not able to market to them, no sales, and persuade them to click on the ad, or persuade them to click on the add to cart button, or persuade them to buy more of the product, right? Of course, the product is going to be, a pretty big chunk of your success to some certain extent, depending on the, how the product is perceived, right? If the product sells itself, then it's definitely going to be easier for you to sell that product. But if it's maybe a very popular product or a very competitive industry, then this is where you need to really start going all into marketing, sales, and persuasion. Either way, you need to know the foundations of these 3 things. Next thing I would focus on is on the product market fit, right? You can focus on these 3 as much as you want, but if there's no product market fit, meaning that if I'm selling this marker to you, but the market wants this other marker, this black one, it's going to be very hard for me to convince you that this is going to be the product that you want if you actually want this one in the first place, right? That's a stupid example, but just so you understand my thought process there. So focus on finding products that people actually want, where there is a demand behind the product, right? Really, really important. Number 3, establish relationship with trusted suppliers. And this is something that people don't really care about. They're like, yeah, let me just find a product, let me just find something to sell, and let's figure about that later. So if you want to build an e-commerce business seriously, meaning that you have a long-term vision, and this once again, this only applies if you want to actually build a brand and you see a long-term vision when it comes to growing your e-commerce brand or business, whatever. You need to start building relationships with suppliers, whether it's by meeting people, by paying or getting access to something. You need to start building relationships, I can't say relationships, with suppliers. This is going to be handy when you get to this stage, and this stage. So start doing that. Number 4, start building a support team. And a lot of people don't actually care about support teams or customer support teams because they just think that it's not really that important. I understand if you're at 0, right? You have 0 customers. How are you going to build a support team? So maybe not when you're starting to 0, but maybe when you're at like 30, 50, 80, 100K a month, start building a team of support, because people buy from you not only because of the product, but because there is a service behind your product, right? And that service also includes support, right? Fast shipping, right? The product of the quality of the product, but it also includes support. So make sure that you start building this. And I can guarantee you, I've seen at least 5 businesses in my lifetime that go from 0 to 100. And by the way, 100K is not even a lot if you just look at the market, but they go from 0 to 100K, and then they start getting returns or refunds, or customers start to complain because of XYZ, because of poor support. And then the business lasts for 3 to 4 months, and then they need to close, because they have supplier issues, because they have support issues, and because people want ask for refunds and chargeback, right? So you want to avoid those 3 things. Once again, if you want to build this in the long term, these are the 4 steps that I would follow initially. One other thing that is really, really important, and by the way, many of these things are boring, and they're meant to be boring, because If you don't have your foundation set up, how are you going to build a business to $1 million, right? And you might say, yeah, let me just figure about that later. But trust me, if you do it now, whether you're in the service-based industry, whether you're in an e-commerce business industry, I guess, any business, you need to build the foundations. And so there's nothing better than starting with these two things: accounting, probably tax things, accounting, and financial reports. Financial reports are going to be really, really important. It's always important for you to understand exactly how profitable you are, how not profitable you are, if you're at a loss, where your money is going, how you're managing your cash flow. And if you don't know how to do this, guess what? There's websites like Fiverr, Upwork, where you can find amazing people that just have are specialized and are experts in financial planning or financial reports and stuff like that, Excel sheets, Google Sheets, whatever. And then also for accounting, if you have zero context in accounting, then you know what to do the same thing. It only costs $100, $200 a month maybe to have these two things sorted or something like that. Last thing here, build a retention foundation. Probably not, maybe not when you're starting out, maybe when you want to figure out what products are selling and all that stuff, but start building a retention foundation as you approach $100,000 a month. And when I say retention foundation, I literally mean email and SMS marketing, okay? We need to find a way, as you're getting traffic, to retain and increase average order value, increase lifetime value, get people back into the funnel by focusing on building a retention foundation, which is once again email and SMS marketing. Just to give you an understanding, and this, by the way, this is a foundational stage, right? This is where you build the foundation. I'm not saying this is the most important thing, right? Because it's not. You can build a retention if you don't have a lot of customers, but it's going to be crucial assuming you want to build this for the long term. Okay, let's move to stage number 2. I'm going to move over here. Hopefully you can still see me. But stage number 2 is going from $100,000 to $250,000 a month. Okay. So this is what I see. This is the problem that I see. Okay, people get to 100 and they want to get to 250. Many times they can't because there's literally, it's not even a product problem. It's an advertising and marketing problem and a creative problem, meaning that they don't have enough creatives, enough of an infrastructure to scale. Right. So this is what I suggest if you want to go from 100 to 250K a month. Focus on expanding your creative process. Work with user-generated content or content creators. Maybe hire somebody specifically to find content creators and to expand your creative infrastructure from like a number standpoint. Instead of like producing 10 creatives a month, maybe create 10 creatives a week. Imagine what that would do to your business. You think producing 10 creatives a week over 10 creatives a month is going to help you go from 100 to 250K a month? The answer is most likely yes, because the more you feed these platforms like social, right, Meta, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, and the more they will prioritize your ads over others, and they will decrease your costs, and your cost per acquisitions will go down, your click-through rates will go up, and it's going to make your life a lot easier. So once again, this is not big scale. These are not huge numbers. I just compared with the potential of the market. There's brands doing $50 million a month, right? Just purely in e-commerce. So these are not huge numbers, but it's important to prioritize this creative concept when you go from 100 to 250K. Next thing is building a UGC network. Once again, still creative foundation. Just imagine having a handful of people that you can rely on every single month, where you can just call them or hit them up, message, email, whatever, and say, hey, I need three videos or 3 UGC videos on this storyboard, this hook, this thing, this and that. And they, within a week or 10 days, they will send you 3 videos. Just imagine having like 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 people like that within your network. Imagine how easy it is to produce content when you get to a certain point, right? And once you build a network, you also build a relationship. So over time, these people will give you better pricing. They will maybe do free videos for you, right? So start doing that in the stage once you cross over 100,000. Number 3, hire marketing people, in-house or agency, I don't care. But when you get over to 100K a month, you're probably spending several hundreds, if not several thousands of dollars per day in media buying and in the ad spend. So make sure to start outsourcing this, because there's nothing worse than focusing all your time on the ad account instead of focusing on other things like expanding the creative process, building a UGC list, and other things that I'm going to talk about in this section over here. So start hiring a person. It doesn't have to be an agency. Just do it in-house, find somebody to do it for you. And I think I encourage people to actually start in the first stage from 0 to 100 to do it themselves. Don't do crazy agency work with agency people. Just understand what you're doing first. Understand what you're selling. Understand marketing, sales, and persuasion, and then go ahead and hire somebody else to do it for you, or to scale that proven process for you. Next thing, expand your product line. You don't have to start, I should probably rephrase it and say, start expanding your product line, because there's so many scenarios where people just go all in on a product. They maybe even scale to like 250K a month or more, but then that product eventually dies out because of whatever reasons. If you're doing creatives, it's not that if you do creatives, your product is gonna last forever. Maybe it's gonna last for a year. Maybe it's gonna last for 2 years. Maybe it's gonna last for 4 months. You don't know. The market will decide how the product will work for you. It's different every time. So I wouldn't put all the eggs in one basket. I would start expanding product line, maybe going after potential cross sales or upsells to your main product. Right? Just build more products. More products equals more revenue, and more revenue and more products also equal higher lifetime value, because you give people more opportunities to spend money with you and with your brand, right? So this is really important. And then last thing here, start building a community. This is actually probably one of the topics that I'm just going to do a whole video about, but it's something people don't understand. Like, the value is not only in the product that you sell. It's not only in the pricing and the offer, it's not only in the support, right? But it's also in the community. People literally would pay just to be in a community, right? People would literally pay just to be in a community. Now, you need to do this for 2 reasons. One, because it's a value for the customer. So when I say community, maybe Facebook groups, every single person, like, you will know where your audience will hang out. And so if they hang out on LinkedIn, or if they hang out on Facebook groups, it's great. School from Alex Ramosi and Sam Ovens is a great platform to start building community. So I would maybe also do it there. Really encourage that platform. But I would do it for 2 reasons. Number one, you add value to your customers, because they're able to chit and chat with other similar people that have similar interests, and that alone is a value. And number 2, this will come into play maybe later, because you can upsell them, cross-sell them, sell them more services or products in this example, because we're talking about e-commerce. Or maybe when there's a product launch, you have a full-on community. It's kind of like an email list, but a community is like in school, for example, or in a Facebook group. It's a lot more warmer and engaging, right? So this is a great thing. This is what I would focus on to go from 100 to 50. Creatives, start hiring and expand on product lines, sell more things, start building a community. Now, let's go. I know I'm talking fast. My voice is, I'm losing my voice. Let's talk about stage number 3, going from $250,000, okay, to $500,000 per month. Now, these are the 3 things. By the way, like, all these things, it's not that these are the only things. There's many more things, or else it would be easy to grow a business. But I wanted to prioritize between 3 and 5 bullet points for each section, just so you once again understand the framework and the mindset of how I would approach things if I were to start. So, stage 3, start building omnipresence, right? Why do we want to build omnipresence? Well, we want you to follow, ideally, in the ideal situation, wherever the customer goes, they find you and only you. And that's kind of the power of omnipresence. So if they go on Facebook, right? Or they go on Instagram, or they go on whatever, TikTok, they will just find you because you're everywhere. So it's really, really important to build this foundation. And how would I start? I would probably start with Facebook or TikTok, with social, to bring awareness. It's the best platform. Then I would probably add Google, right? And then I would add another social platform, and other social platforms. Also, just if you just want to use them for retargeting, it's totally fine. Like, I have some clients that spend $100,000 on Facebook and TikTok, and then they maybe spend $20,000 on Google, and then they maybe spend I don't know, like $2,000 a month on Pinterest and like other platforms. But they, the great thing about retargeting is that it's retargeting, and so the ROAS is extremely high. So just from the $2,000 to $3,000 they spend on a retargeting platform, they get really, really high ROAS. which is great. And it's the power of spending money in multiple different platforms. Now, number two, expand your marketing team. Now, there's nothing worse than having all the eggs in, like, not all the eggs in one basket. That's the wrong saying. I would say there's nothing worse than doing everything yourself. So kind of like the thing that I was talking about here, the marketing person, start hiring to replace yourself. So start building a marketing team here. Have somebody for UGC, have somebody for email marketing, have somebody for media buying. Once again, it doesn't have to be an agency, it can also be in-house. It's just, it's really hard to find the right people. So just, this is gonna take quite a lot of time to optimize and find the right people, trust me. There's also needs to be a cultural fit, right? So I don't want to get too much into the details, but I just want to say that building an e-commerce thing is one thing and building a team is a completely other thing, because you need to make sure that there's a culture fits, there's expectations, right? You need to learn how to be a leader. This is where you really start to be a real entrepreneur and not entrepreneur, but I guess business owner. When you start hiring other people, this is really going to be a crucial stage. One other thing that I mentioned here, a more technical thing, CRO guys, optimize your sales process. I can't stress this enough. I have a client where they have like 200,000 monthly visitors and a 2% conversion rate. And with some tweaking with like the offer, the landing pages, the website, we went from like 2% to like 2.4. And I think that added like $80,000 or between $50,000 and $80,000 per month in additional cash flow, just by adding an extra like 0.4 or 0.5% conversion rate boost, right? And then once again, if you're doing between 250 to 500, you probably have around 250,000 visitors per month. And so guess what? If you even do a 0.2% increase, once again, you have maybe 200 extra orders, just like that. So focus on this a lot, because the more you focus on building the CRO foundation, and the more you can spend on ads, because your sales process is stronger. Your economics of the business are a lot more stronger and sustainable, so you can spend more on acquisition. Okay, so this is the last stage over here, going from 500 to $1 million a month. This is where you need to focus on mainly two things, and these are the two things. If I had to choose, between a billion things, right? These are the two things that I would focus on. Focusing on LTV, right? Or actually three things: optimizing LTV, spending more with LTV into consideration, and I'm gonna explain that in a second. Continue expanding on product line, right? So you can build more revenue streams, and then focus on the product itself, the quality of the product, right? Because we can build a business all we want, but if the product doesn't sell itself, and if we don't create some sort of word of mouth, because the product is great, it works, it gets the results, whatever the case may be, if there's no product, you don't have a business. This entire thing that you worked on for a couple of years or 3 years or whatever, it's not gonna last long. So we want to build businesses that have foundations, that are sustainable, that are consistent, right? If you want to build that type of business, or maybe even go over $1 million a month, the product is going to be the most important thing. Now, I encourage you to focus on marketing, sales, persuasion, and finding product market fit, right? Go through this process, and then once you have enough cash flow to hire for product development, right, or improving your product line, do it as soon as possible, because that's going to be really foundational for you. Okay, optimizing for LTV. How do we do that? We focus on expanding the product line. We also leverage the idea of community. If we can leverage the community, we can upsell them multiple products. Community, I also mean like email marketing, so the retention that marketing foundation that I spoke about in the first stage, and also adding upselling, downselling, and cross-selling throughout your sales journey. Like, you can do these things also in the first stages, but it's going to be really, really crucial, especially when you're going to want to go from 500 to $1 million a month, because the ad spend is going to be a lot more expensive, right? One thing is spending $10,000 a month, and one thing is spending 500K a month, or like 300K a month. It gets really expensive. So in order to sustain the expensive ad spend, you need to make sure that you have stronger LTV, that people spend more and stick more with you. You have a higher retention rate, right? So these are the things. I always like to do an example. Like, I bet you $1 billion that companies like Gymshark, for example, their lifetime value is great because they offer a great service, a great product, great everything. So they're probably willing to either break even or even lose money on the front end, lose hard-earned cash on the front end, because they know that their lifetime value is like $1,000 or maybe even more than $1,000. I spent alone like $500 in a single day on Gymshark. So it wouldn't impress me if the LTV is like over $1,000 for each customer, just because the product is such a great product. So focus on these things, and let's see if I need to talk about something else here. LTV. Yeah, so just very quickly, spend more with LTV into consideration. What do I mean? So this is a very important concept, because once you know your LTV, right? Let's just say that you know that your LTV is $1,000, right? $1,000. This is the LTV. You need to understand how sustainable is it, from like how much can I afford to spend based on my cash flow, right? And once again, this is where we need to build the financial reports from the start, because if you skip all of this and you start doing it here, right, you're gonna lose so much data, so much valuable data. And so the reason why we need to understand exactly what the LTV is because we need to understand how much can we spend, right? We need to understand how much we can spend to acquire each customer. Some people think that to grow a business, you have to be profitable on the front end. That's actually completely not true. You need to be profitable overall. You need to be profitable taking LTV into consideration. Anyways, that's it for me, because I know I'm gonna go on a tangent here if I don't stop talking. I hope this video was valuable. This is what I would do. Hopefully you kind of understand the stages and my thought process and what I would prioritize. I know that there's many different things. These are just some, 3 to 5 bullet points for each stage. Let me know in the comments what you think. Roast me if you think this is funny with the whiteboard, very old school. But yeah, hopefully it was valuable, and see you in the next video.